Hi guys, today we're going to learn about writing equations given 2 points. Just some quick reminders, if you have questions, email me right away. It's definitely not too late to turn in late work. You don't even have to ask, just write it on a separate sheet of paper if it was from before the e-learning, or if it was during the e-learning, just go ahead and do it and submit. Make sure right now that you stop the video and get a pencil and paper so that you can take the notes. Make sure to try the U-Try problems. If you're having trouble getting into the IP, it's probably because you're not using your school email address. You need to be using your Riverside email address so that I can communicate better with you. I don't magically know everyone's email address, so I need you to use your school email address. One of the things that Ms. Lockhart and I are noticing is that some of you are leaving blanks or doing random guesses or writing IDK. There's never a reason to guess, especially during this time. I have office hours every day from 11 to 12, Monday through Thursday. You can email me your questions, or we can set up a separate time to get together and work on the problems. Do you have any struggles or celebrations today? If you've been paying any attention at all, you know that I don't often cook. My husband does most of the cooking. I try to clean up the dishes when I can. This week we found out that we had some canned pumpkin, we had some pie crust, and we had whipped cream in the freezer, so I decided to make a pumpkin pie. It's like Thanksgiving in April here. What are you snacking on this week? We're going to start off with some review on finding slope. Remember that you can find slope by using this formula right here, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. To start each one of these, you're going to want to start by labeling your x1 and your y1 and your x2 and your y2, and then substitute right into the equation. Go ahead and pause the video and try these on your own right now. Welcome back. Once you labeled these, you should have noticed that we're always subtracting the y's on the top. The second y in this case is 9. The first y is 3, and so the top, the numerator, should become 6. On the bottom, x2 is negative 1, and x1 is negative 2, but don't forget there's a minus a negative. Does anybody remember what we do with minus a negative? You want to do keep, change, change. And so it isn't negative 1 minus 2, which would be negative 3. It's negative 1 plus 2, which is 1. And then 6 over 1 just reduces to 6. For number 2, you should have started off by labeling x1 and y1, x2 and y2. So you should have subtracted your y's on the top and subtracted your x's on the bottom. 6 minus 5 is 1. 6 minus 3 is 3. Notice this is not equal to 3. 1 over 3 is a fraction because the numerator is smaller. We can't divide 1 by 3. If you had $1, you could not share that with 3 friends. Okay, you only have $1. It doesn't divide evenly. Number 3, we're going to calculate the slope of the line through these points, x1, y1, x2, and y2. You should have subtracted your y's on the top and subtracted your x's on the bottom. Now, a lot of people probably said that their answer is 0. It is not. Remember, we can't divide by 0. It's impossible for me to take my pumpkin pie that I made and split it up into 0 pieces. That would be subtraction, so I would just be eating it. If I'm cutting it up and I want to divide it into 0 pieces, that's impossible, so that's undefined. What that means is that if we look at the graph with a quick sketch, and this is over 2 and up 5 and over 2 and up 7, this is making a vertical line. Undefined lines make a vertical line. There's no way to find the slope of a vertical line. Remember when we did our little slope man, he's falling off. He's saying, help. For number 4, you should have subtracted, labeled first, x1, y1, x2, y2, and you should have subtracted your y's on the top, subtracted your x's on the bottom. Negative 5, remember keep, change, change when you have those two minuses together. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0. 7 minus 3 is 4. 0 divided by 4 is 0. 0 slope is fine. What that means is, if this is our coordinate plane, we have a horizontal line where y is equal to negative 5. So it goes through right there. Nice job. All right. I want you to pause the video and try these review problems on point slope form. If you are unable to do these two problems, you need to stop the video now. You need to go to last week's lessons and you need to work on your point slope form now because we're going to assume that you have some understanding of point slope form moving forward from here. Welcome back. You should have noticed that we had a slope of 1/2 and a point, that's your x1 and your y1, because there's just one point. Remember, you're substituting into those same blanks every time. This becomes y minus whatever the y value is. The slope always goes here, and the x value always goes here. You can leave it like this, or you can rewrite it. Remember, we can do keep, change, change, where we have these two problems together. So you can write it like that if you'd like. Either answer is correct. What you cannot do is write 1/2 as 2. Remember, 1/2 and 2 are not the same thing. For this one, you should have known that this is x1 and y1, and that your slope is -3. You should have substituted in a -6 in for the y value, a slope of -3, and a 5 in for the y value. Remember, there's minuses in the formulas themselves. So when we have a negative, that makes an extra negative. When we see minus a negative, we can do keep, change, change. We don't do that here. These two are not right next to each other. Again, if you struggled with these problems or you've never heard of point slope form, that means you did not do the lessons from last week and you need to go back and do those now. If I want to write the equation of a line that has a slope, remember a slope of 1/2 and a y-intercept of -3, that's giving me my m and my b, I can use slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. You might want to write yourself a note that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. If instead I want to write the equation that has a slope of -2, that's our m. But this time we don't have the y-intercept. We have x1 and y1, which means I can't use slope-intercept form because I don't have the intercept. Remember, mathematicians are not creative namers. We have a point and a slope, so we can use point-slope form. Let's write that in our notes now. The name of this is point slope form, and it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. But what if I want to write the equation of a different line? A line that goes through 2 points, 5, 6, and -3, 4. Pause the video and take 30 seconds to write down in your notes which of the above equations you think that we should use. Do you think we should use slope-intercept form, or do you think we should use point-slope form? All right, welcome back. Both slope-intercept and point-slope, look at these names. They both have the word slope. They both require us to have the slope. For this problem, we would need to use the 2 points to calculate the slope, and then write the equation using point, slope. So remember back at the very beginning of our review problems, we wrote down our formula for slope. I would write that in your notes right now. That slope is m, which is y2 minus y1 on the top over x2 minus x1 on the bottom. So if I want to write the equation of a line that goes through these 2 points, remember this is my x1, this is my y1, this is my x2, this is my y2. I subtract my y's on the top first to find my slope, so 4 minus 6, and my y's on the bottom, -3 minus 5. 4 minus 6 is -2, -3 minus 5 is -8. This should be reduced. A negative divided by a negative becomes a positive, so we take the negatives off, and 2 and 8 are both divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 8 divided by 2 is 4, so your slope here is 1/4. Now, you can choose either of the 2 points. It doesn't matter which one. They're both 2 points on the same line. They both have the same slope, and substitute into your point slope form. So you could either have chosen the first point, which would be y minus 6 equals 1/4 times x minus 5, or you could have chosen the second point, y minus 4 equals 1/4 times x minus -3. These look different right now, but next time we're going to learn about turning these into slope-intercept form, and you'll notice that these end up being the exact same problem. So if I want to write an equation given 2 points, I have to start by finding the slope. So this is my x1, this is my y1, this is my x2, this is my y2. Remember, you should already have your slope formula in your notes, so you shouldn't have to have me write that for you again. If you don't have it, go back and write that down now. We subtract our y's on the top. We subtract our x's on the bottom. -3 minus 2 is not -1. Check that on your calculator. It's -5. 1 minus 0 is 1, and that reduces to be -5. So my slope is -5. And then you can choose either of the two problems. You could write this as y minus 2 equals negative 5 times x minus 0. Or you could use the other one, y minus negative 3, but it has the same slope, different x's and y's there. Those would turn into the same thing when we turn them into slope-intercept form. Using this as your example, go ahead and pause the video now and try this one on your own. Welcome back. You should have labeled that this is x1 and this is y1, and this is x2 and this is y2. We subtract our y's on the top, so negative 4 minus 5 goes on top. 2 minus 0 goes on the bottom. Again, check these with your calculator. Negative 4 minus 5 is not negative 1, it's negative 9. 2 minus 0 is 2. This cannot be reduced. There's nothing that 9 and 2 can both be divided by, and we never turn slope into an improper or into a mixed number. We always leave it improper. Use the first point. That becomes y minus the y value, which is 5, and x minus the x value. Or you can write this as y minus negative 4 equals negative 9 halves times x minus 2. You can leave it as minus a negative. Let's try another one. Write the point-slope form of the equation of the line through the points 4, negative 2 and 6, negative 2. So we're always subtracting our y's on the top. That's negative 2 minus negative 2 and 6 minus 4 on the bottom. If we do keep, change, negative 2 plus 2 is 0. 6 minus 4 is 2. And then we need to take a minute and think, is this going to be 0 because the 0 is in the numerator, or is it going to be undefined? Well, 0 is in the numerator. 0 divided by anything is still 0, so our slope just becomes 0. And then we can use either of the 2 points. We could do y minus negative 2 equals 0 times x minus 4. Or we could choose the other point, same y value, same slope, but the x values are different, so those two would look different there. Pause the video and try example 2 on this screen on your own. Welcome back. You should have subtracted negative 3 minus negative 3 on the top and 7 minus 5 in the denominator. You should have done keep, change. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0, 7 minus 5 is 2, and 0 divided by 2 is 0. And then you could have written this either way. You could have done the first point, in which case your y value is negative 3 and your x value is 5. Or you could have written it with the other point, y minus negative 3 equals 0 times x minus 7. Notice the slope is the same in either case. All right, let's try another one. Let's subtract our y's on the top, all over 3 minus 3. Keep, change. 4 plus 5 is 9. Ooh, we can't divide by 0, so my slope is undefined. All right, guys, this is the exception to our rule. I don't have a slope because this is a vertical line. This is a vertical line through some x value. Look back up here at your point. What does it look like x is always equal to? No matter what, x is always equal to 3. Other points on this line would be 3, 2, 3, negative 7. X is always 3. I cannot write this in point-slope form. It's impossible. The equation of this line has to be written using an x value. Use this example to help you. You pause the video and you try example 2 on your own now. You should have subtracted your y's on the top, 2 minus negative 6, all over 2 minus 2. This becomes 8 divided by 0. Again, my slope is undefined. It is impossible for us to write this in point-slope form, but notice, what is x always equal to? X is always equal to 2, and we're done there. All right. Go back to Haiku, click on the link for writing equations given 2 points, day 1. Make sure you take the time to work out your answers on a separate sheet of paper before you submit. If you find yourself guessing or writing IDK, please just stop. Email me, tell me you need some help, and we'll figure out a time to work on it together. Good luck. Hope to see you in office hours soon.